Thank you for joining me today on Instinctive Addiction Archery. I am Jeff Phillips, and I have got a very good video here for you today that I feel like it is time to bring to you. Kind of the perfect time as we're getting closer to hunting season, and you guys may be trying to get your setups ready to go to the woods. Well, I'm going to bring you a video today that hopefully and prayerfully will help you to get your stuff ready to go quick and easy. So what I'm going to bring you today, guys, is really cool. All right, we're going to go with some really affordable arrows today. The Gold Tip Warrior. Okay, the Gold Tip Warrior is a very economical arrow that you can get anywhere, anytime. And whether you choose to stick with them or to go in a lot higher grade arrows is perfectly fine, but they're going to shoot the same. It will do the exact same thing. All right, so this particular bow that I brought up today that I just set up, this is a 48 at 28 one-piece longbow, okay? I draw 27 inches, so I'm about 46 pounds, okay? That's about what I'm drawing with this bow at my draw length. Okay, so when I start figuring generally what spine do I need, I know that my arrows are not gonna be cut past 28 inches generally. That, you know, about an inch past my true draw is all I need. Now, true draw is measured at the very front of the riser at full draw. In other words, if you need to draw an arrow to your normal hunting draw and get someone to mark that shaft with a Sharpie, then you could put the tape to it and measure it to carbon to carbon. You can go to knock throat, but I like to go carbon to carbon and say, okay, that's exactly what this shaft needs to be to just be at my draw length. I want to add an inch to it, okay? Plus this roughly 3/8 to a ½ inch that the knock gives you. So that gives you a little over an inch of play with your broadhead. That's plenty. If you want to go more, great, fine, it won't matter, but you're gonna have to tune your arrow to see what it's gonna do. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now, guys, is I'm gonna shoot a couple of different bear shafts with different configurations on them. The first thing you need to do is determine what type of broadhead you wanna shoot this year. Roughly what grain head, because you have to buy your heads in certain grain weights. When you buy your heads, then you can take from that, let's just say, for an example, this is 190 grain Simmons head, okay? Well, if I know I've got 190 grain head, just shy of 200 grains, I probably could about get by with a stock insert, but I want a little bit more. So I chose to build mine with 50 grain inserts. That's these here, 50 grain aluminum inserts. That's what I'm running with these heads, and they're magic, okay? Now, if I wanted to run a little bit more, brass 100 grain inserts. So I broke out two bear shafts here for you. Two bear shafts. Same bow. I'm going to show you what the differences are and how they act with different point weight. These are both cut exactly 28 inches, carbon to carbon. One has a 50 grain insert, one has 100, one has a 175 head, one has a 200 grain head. To show you the dramatic difference in spine, in how they react to your bow and how they impact the target, and what you can do to tweak that. Let's just say, if I've got a 190 grain head, well, I'm probably going to bear shaft tune my arrows with a 200 grain head, probably, for testing purposes, because it's really close to the weight of my broadhead. If I have a slightly weak arrow, I know that I can add a luminock to the back of the arrow. Anything you add to the back of that shaft is going to stiffen that shaft, okay? Anything you do, feathers, wraps, luminocks, it's going to stiffen that shaft, so that if this arrow here was a little bit weak with 300 grains on the front, I can correct that by putting a little bit of weight on the back. If it won't correct, then I have to go down in point weight or shorten the shaft, one of the two, okay? I'm gonna shoot first, probably this one that is a very close match. This one has a 175 grain head, 50 grain insert, and a stock knock with only a wrap. Now, there again, guys, if you're gonna shoot a wrap on your arrows, if you're going to, on your hunting arrows, if you're going to shoot wraps on your arrows, bare shaft with the wrap, because it does make a difference. Yes, it does. I'm going to shoot this one, and when you are bare shafting, doing your tests on a shaft, get at least 20 yards. That's what we are here. 20 yards to that big black, super thick, super tough medium that doesn't give, doesn't lie to you on arrow impact. It will not lie. The arrows are going to impact, and they're not going to go one way or the other. Once they enter into that medium, they're going to go just like they go. Shooting a soft target will lie to you on a bare shaft, guys. It will. Blocks, the original block target is a good target as long as it's not wore out to do it. Some of your really dense foam targets, they work incredibly well. 3D targets are never flat enough to really tell what's going on, so you need something like this just to test your bare shaft, and definitely don't do it in a bag target. A bag target never ever works. Okay guys, I'm gonna shoot it, and remember, when bare shafting, don't cant the bow like you typically shoot. Shoot it vertical with almost no grip on here. Just let it cradle. Get a very light hook so that your human influence doesn't affect that arrow leaving the bow any more than it has to. You want to shoot as mechanical as you can for bare shaft tuning purposes. So to show you what this one does, I'm going to shoot it first, and we'll see how it impacts. Okay, not bad, but I noticed in flight, tail right. I did. That arrow was tail right in flight. Also, it flew a little bit knock low. I noticed a little knock flow, and you can see it at 20 yards. You may not be able to see it like I could in flight, but if you were to put it in slow motion, stop and slow motion this video, you will see that that arrow flew a little bit tail low. So that tells me that I want to go up just a couple of turns, and that's why I like triple T strings, because they're so easily adjustable. So if that thing's stiff, then it means I've got to add a little bit of point weight to get it perfect, right? I'm gonna grab it for you right quick, and we'll shoot it again. Now, complete change, okay? Now, I drew this much further, just this much. I really dug in. Guess what? It's not stiff. It was perfect, okay? So how you draw that arrow, you have to do it multiple times, not just once, because you may be influencing the spine of that arrow and how far you're really drawing the bow or not. That is a very good bare shaft. Very good. I'm going to show it to you guys. There again, that is a 175 head, 50 grain insert on a 28-inch 500, pulling 46 pounds out of a cut 2-center longbow. All right, check it out. We'll go down here and look at this. Show you guys how straight this is. Okay. All right, if you can notice, that arrow is as straight as it can possibly be. Okay, straight. That's what you want. It is not tail left. It is not tail right. From where I was standing, the arrow is just straight. Okay. Now, it has got just a slight bit of knock low left impact, just a little tiny bit, but it's so minute it's almost not worth changing. But I'm going to do a slight adjustment just because I want it perfect. Okay, then we're going to shoot 300 grains on the front of the same arrow and see just how weak it does or does not make it. Okay, all right, let's try 300 grains. 100 grain brass insert, 200 grain field tip, same exact arrow, 20 yards. See if we can watch the flight of this and see if this thing goes tail left, if it's really too weak or if it's not, because I can't cut it any shorter, which would mean I would have to add a Luminoc and a wrap to correct it, and we may have to try that. because I just might want to shoot 300 grains on the front of these arrows. And we'll see if we can do it. Okay, notice that. Guys, the number one comment and question I see all the time is why on my bare shaft tuning is my Nock High? Nock High, Nock High, Nock High. I can't get Nock High out of my arrows. Well, that just flew Nock High. Right and left, it's great, but it's Nock High, okay? So why did it react different to this arrow? Why? Why did a total point weight of 225 shoot bullet straight and 300 grains get a Nock High reading? Why is that? Because when you load up an arrow, sometimes it will cause Nock High, which can easily be adjusted with your bow. You're not most of the time, but it naturally is going to give you a Nock High reading when you're shooting high FOC. Okay, there again, that arrow that I just shot does not have a wrap, does not have a luminoc. So what I'm gonna do before I do any adjustments, I'm gonna pull it and I'm gonna wrap it. I'm gonna put a luminoc on the back like I would build that arrow for hunting and see if that corrects that Nock High without adjusting the bow. Hang on. So, let's wrap it. Wraps do stiffen the arrows big time, and so does adding a lighted nock, whether it's a nocturnal, a luminoc, whatever, doesn't matter. They all add weight, okay? And they stiffen the shaft. They do, they stiffen it, guys, okay? All right. All right. We have a nice pink wrap on here now, okay? Got a wrap? Let's put a luminoc on here. And we're gonna weigh this thing because we were at 520 grains before. Let's see what it's doing now. 542. All right, so 22 grains. We gained 22 grains by doing this. Well, let's see how it affects the arrow and if we need to do any bow adjustments. Just slightly Nock High. Definitely stiffen the arrow up significantly. It's amazing what a little bit on the back of an arrow will actually do to one. Let me pull it right quick and we're gonna do just a slight nock adjustment on this. See how we can get this bad boy to fly. Okay guys, gonna go down. Since I've got Nock High flight, I'm gonna go down just a couple of twists here. I'm doing the top and the bottom. I'm not twisting one as much as it looks like I am. I'm doing top and bottom, okay? Keeping the spacing right on them. Now, let's see what this does. Bam, the knot flew out of it. She hit hard. We're gonna go look at it and see what it looks like. That knock was a little loose, so the impact knocked it out, okay? Right and left, as you can see, right and left is perfect, but it's a little tail high. Now, if you'll notice, the other shaft was a little tail low. This one is a little tail high, so we still need just a little bit more adjustment. So guys, that's what I'm telling you. You can't always just go by a certain formula. The point weight affects everything. It really does. And as you'll notice, shooting 225 on the front of the exact same arrow, wrapped, same everything. There was no tail high flight coming out of that bow. None, zero. Low, if anything. And I put 300 grains on the front, and guess what it does? It wants to tend Nock High. And so many guys ask me all the time, how do I get this Nock High out? Well, you may have to actually go down in point weight a little bit if your arrows won't handle it, or shorten the arrow, or go to a stiffer spine. And all it boils down to is the weakness of the spine. I could shoot a 400 with 300 grains, and I'll guarantee you it wouldn't have that problem. But a 500 is the natural tune for a 46-pound bow within any normal hunting range point weight setup. So this is very, very close. I'm gonna do one more slide adjustment, and we're gonna see if we can get this thing bullet straight with 300 on the front, because we already know 225 is so easy. That's a given. On a 28-inch arrow, 225 is so easy to tune. But for guys that wanna hunt heavier FOC, more weight than that, you may have to make some adjustment. So that's what we're gonna do. Make a slight adjustment on the bow and see if we can get it perfect, guys. See if it can be done. All right. All right, let's adjust just a little tiny bit. Let's go down with this knot just a hair. And these are really tight, so they're kind of hard to move. As I'm twisting, it looks like I'm moving it a lot, but I promise you it's very little movement. Okay. Let's try it out and see what it does. Okay. Up and down's cured. The arrow flew perfect, but it's still flying a touch tail left, which tells me 300 is a little too much for that shaft. It is borderline weak. So what do? Well, I'm gonna go grab it, and I'm gonna put a 175 grain tip in it, and it should be bullet straight. Okay, so that tells me 28-inch 500, shooting 46 pounds. It's a hair weak, even wrapped with Aluminok the back, stiffening the back of the shaft all I can. I'm still a hair weak. Now my up and down was instantly cured by moving that knock. Okay, there's no tail high in that shaft at all. I'll go show it to you guys just one more time. I'll show you. There is no tail high whatsoever. The arrow flew good, very good. Okay, but see how it's a hair tail left? It's tail left, just a little bit tail left. So this arrow's weak, but look at my up and down. Awesome, totally awesome, absolutely perfect. It's what you want, perfect. Cannot get any better. Simple knock adjustment took care of that. But now I know 300 grains is a little much. So I'm gonna back it off to 275. Should be magic. That tells me that that is the max point weight that I can run on this shaft and it fly perfect. That's my max. 275 up front will be the most I can do. Okay, check it out. All right. Lay down the 200 grain tip. Let's put a 175. Now, the feathers will give us about 10 grains. Give us about 10 grains. So let's just see what the total arrow weight is now. 520. 520 grain arrow. Okay? 520. So it's going to be 530-ish, maybe just a hair more, completely finished, which is great weight for pulling 46 pounds. That is a very acceptable weight with good heavy FOC. See how this does. There it is. There it is. That did the trick. That flew very good. I'm gonna shoot this one again right behind it that had the 225 on the front, just to show you how incredibly well this one shoots. Oh, okay. Guys, that's it. That's it. I hope you could see that. I have sit here and made adjustments on this bow for a 300 grain setup up front and even a 275. to get that nock height perfect by going down with my nock. And I turn right around and I shoot an arrow that was tuned perfectly to this bow with 225 up front. And guess what? It is flying nock low, nock low. That arrow went through the air flying nock low. So there's your answer to that. Point weight is what determines that up and down tune on your string. Yes, it does, on the same arrow. So to shoot that arrow that I first started with, which is what I choose to shoot out of this arrow, because that's what these are built, because they shoot so well with 225 up front, I have to go back up with my nock some, okay? It doesn't require that lower nock set to offset that point weight for some reason, okay? So guys, that's what the testing is all about. That is it in a nutshell. Hopefully that will be the answer to everybody's question of how do I get consistent nock high out of my bear shafts and can't correct it. Back off the point weight. Back off of it. You got to. That or stiffen your shaft, one of the two. Now, all right, I'm working my way back up on my nock where I had moved it down to accommodate that heavy point weight. I'm going back up with it to see if I could level this original arrow with 225 back off. I moved it just a little bit back up. There it is. No lock, no nock low travel now. Absolutely bullet straight, bullet perfect. That's it. That's it right there. So that tells me that I'm back to where I was at with these arrows that I built for this bow, that I already tested. I got set up with 225 on the front, and I will shoot the broadhead right behind them to show you guys what I mean, okay? Love it. Absolutely flawless flight. No wiggle, no low, no nothing, and I know it's fletched, I know it's all that, but it was beautiful flight. And that's what you're gonna get when you get that shaft. Let me show you guys. I'll show you. Let me take you back down here one more time. A broadhead sitting right beside a bear shaft, set up the same. What they look like. There they are. That is what they look like, guys. When you get your bear shaft perfect, absolutely perfect, that's what you get. That's what you want. Identical. In the target, identical. That's what it's all about. That's why you have to bear shaft tune your arrows, guys. You hear it all the time. It's preached by everybody that's setting bows up, period. Bear shaft, bear shaft, bear shaft. Well, let me tell you, there's a reason for it. You may not want to do it, but you could very well be shooting an arrow that is so wonked in flight that it's pitiful, and you not even know it, okay? So it's worth sacrificing one arrow, even if you have to get you a cheap fletching jig and refletch or whatever you got to do. It's worth it to test it and see what you got to do to get it right. Thank you guys for joining me on Instinctive Addiction Archery. I'm Jeff Phillips. Love you so much, and we thank the good Lord for everything he gives us to enjoy, including tinkering with these bows and arrows. Till next time, goodbye.